Ahoy! Zhiyun Smooth Q3 versus Hohem iSteady V2 with optional extendable selfie stick with a remote versus DJI OM4. The question is not which one is the best. The question is which one is the best for you. For the new faces, welcome. My name is Zdenka Darula. If you are into photography and video, consider subscribing to this channel. DJI OM4 has been on market since last summer 2020 to be precise. Some of you might be watching this video actually next year. Well, is DJI OM5 coming out? I've been looking for the information everywhere just like everybody else, and I have no idea, I don't know, but I know that they usually come out with a new gimbal every single August. So if it's gonna happen, it should be happening next month. But for now, let's stay with DJI OM4. This year, Zhiyun Smooth Q3 and Hohem iSteady V2 joined the market. And those are way newer gimbals. They've been on the market for a few weeks. This video will be more of a comparison, hands-on comparison of those three gimbals, as I had a chance to film with them. I know how they're in hands, how it is to work with them. This is going to be more of a practical comparison. If you are looking for detailed information about each gimbal, I have made very detailed review of each gimbal in the past. I'm gonna leave it below the video in a video description. When it comes to technical specifications, I don't know about you, but I usually want to know two things: maximum payload and battery life. The biggest payload has DJI OM4. According to papers, it can handle 230 grams plus minus 60 grams. 230 plus 60 is 290 grams. The other two gimbals have a maximum payload 280 grams. From my experience using DJI OM4 with iPhone 12 Pro and Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, I do have a little bit problem with the clamp. The grip is not deep, and I simply refuse to take off the phone case when I'm filming because it is a thin moment case and I attach filters to it or anamorphic lens. I use it for filming. The problem is not when I'm actually filming. The problem is when I'm having it in a standby mode and I'm moving from place A to place B, and it's kind of just wiggling around. Sometimes I have to make sure the phone is sitting properly because it can slip out. Unfortunately, it did slip out already 3 times for me in that year. Excellent grip has Hohem, since you can also use action cameras with it, and Zhiyun has quite good grip as well. I don't see any problems with those two. DJI OM4, however, is the only one which will allow you to add counterweights in case you are using filters and lenses like anamorphic lens. Zhiyun is working on their counterweights. Hohem, I have no idea. For now, you need to come up with your own solution, like attaching a clamp to a phone. How is the battery life? Zhiyun Smooth Q3 and DJI OM4 will give you 15 hours. Hohem iSteady V2 will give you 9 hours. Is it an issue? I personally never ran into a situation that I would run out of the battery. I never shoot 9 hours. I usually shoot 3 to 4 hours maximum. And before I go to the next shoot, I fully charge the battery anyways. Let's check out the most important, and that would be the stabilization. I've shot with all 3 gimbals before in the last few B-roll tutorials. I filmed in real speed, 24 frames per second, and left it on purpose, raw. What I mean by that is that I didn't apply any warp stabilization or heavy editing in a post. There is a strong reason why. Since I review these gimbals as well, I want you to see the real deal. Unfortunately, I have seen very large number of reviews on YouTube, no names here, where you can tell right off that there has been very heavy warp stabilization or very heavy post-editing applied to the footage. And I think if you're about to buy a gimbal, if you're about to decide which gimbal to buy, your right is to actually see what you are about to buy. Your right is to see how the stabilization really is. I assume that not all of you are ballerinas or have very steady hands. So let's start. DJI OM4 go first. I'm going to do first just a regular hard walk. Then I'm gonna go deep into my knees. I'm gonna do what's called a ninja walk, and then fast speed run. Next up is a Zhiyun Smooth Q3. And lastly, here is Hohem iSteady V2. My thoughts on stabilization are these. I noticed that the most comments about stabilization, about poor stabilization, I get is unfortunately below DJI OM4 videos. I get in the comments, wow, this gimbal is not that stable. Well, this gimbal is a year old, so the other two gimbals are on the market for a few weeks. So you would expect with the newer products that they already improved the stabilization. I feel that I get better results with the Zhiyun Smooth Q3, and surprisingly Hohem is not bad either, and it is such a light and small gimbal. Let's check out again the running shots. Can you switch gimbal modes in any app? Well, that's a big one. Unfortunately, DJI OM4 is the most annoying one. You can only do that in DJI Mimo app, which belongs to this gimbal. If you are filming a native camera app, which would be logical for Android phones, you have to open up DJI Mimo to be able to switch mode, go back to the other app, film, go back again to DJI Mimo switch mode, and so on. It's time consuming and it's not fun. Zhiyun Smooth Q3 has it the best. It is very easy to switch the modes and you can clearly see it on the gimbal. Hohem has ability to switch the modes too, but it is a little bit more complicated. Zoom buttons are not working in native camera app with any of these gimbals. Hohem is the only one which has also focus pull available in Hohem Pro app. It is done via zoom button. Let's talk about axis range of motion. Let's talk about tilt first. You will get quite nice movement with DJI OM4, it's very large, and the Zhiyun Smooth Q3 is not bad either. The least movement you are going to get with Hohem iSteady V2. When it comes to pen movement, it is pretty much the same with all of them. It's not full 360 degrees, it's something around 300, I would say. Inception mode. DJI OM4 has the best one. You can operate it manually with joystick, select the direction, and it's programmed so you don't see the motor in the shot. It stops before you see it. With Zhiyun Smooth Q3, you can do the same thing, but you will end up seeing the motor in the shot, so you need to crop the video clip. The same goes with Hohem. You will see the motor, so you need to crop the clip, and above all that, it is only automatic mode. You cannot do the movement manually with joystick. How does it actually feel working with the gimbals? Well, I've had DJI OM4 for the longest time. I've had it for a year now, and I've put it through some rough times. I've loaded it with a lot of things. I've been working with it quite a bit, and I can tell you it's still working very well. Here and there, I can feel that the motors are a little bit tired now, but it works pretty good. This gimbal feels the best in your hands. It's quite big, and if you have big hands, it's just comfortable. Sometimes I have a hard time with certain movements. I have to try to position it with the joystick where I want it to be, and still I run into a little trouble. Zhiyun Smooth Q3 feels quite comfortable in hands as well, but if you have bigger hands, I would definitely say that the DJI OM4 is a little bit better. I like the way it responds. So far I haven't had really many issues with the movements. Hohem is quite small, and I would say that it is best fitted for a little bit smaller hands. There are limitations with movements, such as tilt movement, because it is small, for example, so you do need to get used to it. However, there are always ways around it. I've shown it in the monopod video. For me, this gimbal is awesome because you can pair it with a remote, and it does give you so much more creative freedom. For me, it is huge. For the small size it is, surprisingly, it is working well and it's easy to work with. Let's talk about the apps. If you have an iPhone, what you are going to get with each gimbal in their apps is 4K, 1080p and 720p in 24, 25, 30 and 60 frames per second. That will be with DJI OM4 and Zhiyun Smooth Q3. Hohem will give you 24, 30 and 60 frames per second in 4K, 1080p and 720p. All three apps will give you slow motion, hyperlapse, time-lapse, vertigo or dynazoom effect, and story feature. DJI and Zhiyun will give you manual filming as well. In Hohem, it is partial manual filming. You cannot select frame rates. Zhiyun will give you beauty mode as well and live streaming. Hohem has focus pull feature with zoom button. I looked at Android, Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, what the apps have to offer with this phone. Now keep in mind that each Android phone is different, and some of the Android phones might have even more limitations. DJI and Hohem will give you only 30 frames per second, period. No manual filming and no slow motion. Zhiyun will give you 24 and 30 frames per second in ZY Chemi app in 4K, 1080p and 720p. No slow motion and no manual filming. Everything else is the same. When it comes to filming in other apps, DJI OM4 is compatible with Filmic Pro and Moment app. Zhiyun gimbals can be connected with ProTake app as it is offered in hardware settings. This is how I see it. If you want to do advanced filming and if you want to film in Filmic Pro or Moment app, then DJI OM4 is still it. The stabilization is not the best right now. You will have to work a little bit harder to get it as stable as possible. The other ones are more stable for sure, but I would say this is the best choice right now when it comes to advanced filming. On the other hand, if you have a very heavy phone and you want to load it with a ton of stuff like filters, heavy lenses and all that, hands down, I would reach for something like Moza Mini P, which has far bigger payload and the motors are super strong. I like Zhiyun Smooth Q3 for advanced filming as well, but the fact that I can't attach right now counterweights makes me realize that it is more suitable for automatic filming. But once they come out with the counterweights, then I think that this is going to be quite strong contender for manual filming as well, for advanced filming. It has very good stabilization. It is great for beginners. I'm very curious to see what they come up with when it comes to counterweights. When it comes to Hohem, I actually like the remote and the AI tracking the most. I also like the fact that you can get the extendable selfie stick with it. It is not really made for manual filming. It is just to pop in the phone and film in automatic mode, get a whole bunch of features, whole bunch of stuff. And this is something I carry in my purse. It is amazing for family stuff. This is what I use over the weekends. I don't film in manual mode with my family. I just want to catch the moments. I just want to pop in the phone, turn it on and done. Right now we are all waiting if DJI will come out with new gimbal, but again, DJI OM4 it is for now. If you want to see again in detail each gimbal separately to find out all features, I will link those videos in a video description below. Also, all these gimbals will be linked there as well. Hit the thumbs up if you found this video informative and subscribe to future videos. If you have any questions, comments, leave it below and I'll see you, my friends, in the next video. Ciao, ahoy.